Welcome to the Neckbeard experience. We've got a good lineup today of very cringy stories, so sit back, relax, get ready for the cringe, and here we go. I have a cousin named Ken. Ken's also a neckbeard. An interesting thing to note about Ken, while he doesn't have bad hygiene, and he's in no way ugly. Yes, he is rather plain looking, however. He is greasy, edgy, and he's a hardcore weeb. Now, I'm a socially awkward teenage girl, and I'm heavily involved in the fine arts, D&D, and I DJ for my school's dances. I have a friend named Mark. While he would not be called a Chad, he is intimidating enough to scare a neckbeard. He and his girlfriend are my closest friends. Violet is Mark's girlfriend. Violet and I look very similar to one another, but she has the added value of being super timid and being quite an anime fan. This whole mess started when I performed at a school play. Ken saw me, and he determined that I was his dream girlfriend. Ken introduced himself by saying,
"Hi, I'm Ken. Will you do me the honor of having lunch with me?"
I politely say,
"I can't. My friends don't like new people around without warning."
He accepts it hesitantly, then he walks away. Not having spoken 50 words to me, he dumps his girlfriend. She's a super kind girl. I felt so bad for her. And he proceeded to ask me,
"Hey, do you want the honor of going to the upcoming school dance with me?"
I don't outright say no, which I should have, but instead I say,
"I'm not sure if I'm even allowed to go, and if I do, I'm working the dance."
as an excuse. Thinking what I said was a polite rejection, I go on my merry way. He comes to my class, asks about me in the halls, even stops me from getting on the bus. I then finally tell him,
"No, buzz off."
He sadly walked away. I finally get some common sense, and I tell my mom. Apparently, rejecting him was a good thing, because she told me that we were cousins. Distant cousins, but we were cousins nonetheless. So I proceeded to tell Ken this, and all he says is,
"Oh, that's a poor excuse to reject me."
I began to avoid Ken like the plague. I did this for the rest of the school year. I let Mark be my bodyguard for a week, and eventually, Ken did start leaving me alone. Enter Violet and Mark. Violet and Mark are a really happy couple. They both enjoy many of the same things. However, Ken decided if he couldn't have me, the next best thing was my closest friend, because she somewhat resembled me. He first flirts with her a little bit, and then homecoming rolls around. Now, the homecoming in my town is very casual, though some people do try to look a little nicer than usual. I start setting up the audio equipment with my father, when Ken comes in about half an hour too early to the dance. He's decked out in a tux, holding a bouquet of flowers. He comes up to chat with me. He even tries to give me the flowers. Luckily, my dad knew about Ken, and he shooed him away. The dance starts, and Violet, with Mark in tow, shows up. Ken tries to give the flowers to her. He gets rejected, and nearly gets beat up by Mark. Ken doesn't give up though. He makes Violet so uncomfortable that she goes home. The rest of the night was uneventful, outside of the little fake tantrum by Ken. A few months later, I'm going shopping with my grandmother, when we see Ken and his guardian, also his grandmother. The two old ladies get excited to catch up with each other, and Ken asks,
"Is that your adoptive grandmother?"
His grandmother even confirmed it, as we had photos of us together as kids. Neither of us remembered it. Ken gets it in his head that we were in some sort of anime, and I was a childhood friend, and that we finally reunited. You remember how I said that Ken wasn't ugly? Well, some girl asked him out, and he flatly rejected her. I happen to know the girl. It was a small rural town. Everyone knows everyone. So I ask,
"Ken, why did you reject her?"
"Because she isn't you."
We are never going to be a thing.
This causes him to go into a rant.
You're the reason I can't get a girlfriend, because I can't keep comparing them to you.
Stop being nice at this point.
That isn't my problem.
Then I walk away. A few months later, during spring break, he texts. I, to this day, have no clue how he got my number.
I know what I did was wrong, and I want to get help.
That is true. That's great you can admit that.
All I need to get better is your friendship. You don't even have to be my girlfriend, just a friend.
While I support your decision to get help, I'm not comfortable being your friend.
It goes downhill from here.
But I need you in order for me to get the help I need.
So I tell him.
I have my own problems, and I'm not qualified to help you.
So I proceeded to block him. Fast forward to now. He's become a creepy wreck of a guy. He has no clue about personal space, and he makes inappropriate jokes. I now can't avoid him during school hours. He did eventually do a series of stupid things that got him thrown out of school. Well, that's my story about Ken, the cousin-loving neckbeard. I learned a lot from this creep. For example, just say no the first time, and don't feel guilty if they do something stupid because you rejected them. That's on them. This story takes place primarily between three people. Myself, the so-called Neckbeard, I'll call him Saltybeard, and a mutual friend, which we'll name Rachel. All three of us are in a theater program. It also doubles as an advanced math and science program. Rachel and I are both in the program, and we talk pretty often. Saltybeard is only in the theater program, and I'm not in any of his classes, so I really don't interact with him very much. Rachel and I are partners on a project for the science program. We stay a bit after class to finish up some work, and she tells me,
FYI, I was told that Saltybeard has a crush on you. Ew.
I don't talk to the kid, and I've never had a crush before. I really had no desire for male attention, especially from him. He had a pretty mediocre face, decent hair, wore way too much cheap cologne. He's not the worst looking, but he was a total a-hole. He's pretty arrogant and cocky, thinks women should be in the kitchen, uses racist and derogatory slurs, and he's violent toward his friends. Honestly, I'm not sure why he even liked me. I have good grades. I suppose I have a decent appearance. I've got wavy blonde hair, pale but clear skin, blue eyes, and admittedly, I do enjoy Nintendo games, which I have mentioned sometimes. I guess this led to a bunch of greasy but harmless dweebs trying to talk to me. He's just on a different plane of existence. Anyways, I'm glad that Rachel gave me the heads up, because soon enough, he starts to bug me. He tries to talk to me in between classes. He hits on me in general. But I acted very oblivious, hoping that he would get the hint. On the bus ride home, I was the very last stop, so I would often pass the hour on the long ride home by listening to music. Saltybeard began asking me every day of the week,
"Hey, fine lady, may I sit next to you?"
I usually try to sit alone. Each time I would say,
No.
turn back to my book and ignore him. He tries to talk to me, flashes me a smile or a wink, but I would totally ignore him. He does not get the hint. He continues this, like I said, for about a week. Soon enough, people start to catch on and they start to talk. I'm already known as a no-nonsense bitch, so I eventually get to the point where I walk up to him and I say,
Look, I'm not interested. Go flirt with someone else because it's obviously not working here and you're not getting the hint.
He looked flustered as I walked away, and there wasn't another incident for about a month. The theater program had a Snapchat with an ever-changing name. And of course, drama kids love, you guessed it, drama. Everyone in the chat was active, and we were just having a pleasant conversation when, all of the sudden, Saltybeard jumps in and he starts berating me, insulting me as a person, saying,
"You must bribe all your friends to act like they're your friends. You're so ugly, too. You must kiss a lot of ass, because that's the only reason why you can get good grades."
and nonsense like that. This lasts for almost an hour. As I said, everyone was in chat, so everyone is watching this happen and freaking out. They're trying to calm him down and maintain the peace. Meanwhile, I'm just stirring the pot.
Aw, did I damage your delicate ego?
And I was laughing my butt off. and I continued to laugh at everything he said. In person, from this point on, he goes out of his way to be passive-aggressive toward me, and I just laugh every time, because it is obvious that he was mad, and I damaged his delicate ego. Fast forward to midway through summer. Salty Beard follows me on Instagram, and he's liking and commenting on all my posts. He still does. He goes to a different school now, so I don't have to see him anymore, but people still bring it up sometimes, just to laugh at his outburst. This was a really horrible experience. Let me give you some context. I used to talk to this guy when I was a middle schooler. He was a senior then, and he soon entered into college. But he always wanted to RP with me. I was a 7th grader, and he always asked me,
"Your character can be a stripper or some kind of pony slutty girl and do some sexy roleplay with me."
Needless to say, he made me really uncomfortable. So when he left for college, I was really happy, because that meant he would never get online, and I avoided him anytime he did. But whenever he did catch up with me, I would usually say,
I'm really busy. I don't have much time.
After years of not talking to him, he tried to message me and talk to me. I was so scared and creeped out that I blocked him, and I had my boyfriend message him soon after. It was so awkward and weird for me. But yeah, he was a brawny. He always wanted to RP, involving characters having sex. The weirdest part that I can remember was that every time we started to RP, he would pick my character Rosie. She was my pony persona, or ponysona. So, one time when we were RPing, he pointed something out by asking me,
"Why are your posts always so long? They're like much longer than mine."
As his was only a few words, and I'm a writing nerd, so I made mine always long and detailed. He did admit,
"I know your character's underage, but, you know, I really enjoy our RP together, and it makes me hard. I can't leave it unfinished, so, you know, I gotta take care of it."
Which at the time, I just thought was weird, and we continued. Now that I'm older, it terrifies me, and I'm happy that he's blocked, and he can't find me. He used to say that he was my Oni-chan, but I never called him that, only my character did in RP, but I did not. The only person I ever called that was a friend that I was learning Japanese with, and he felt like a brother to me. I'm just glad to not have him in my life anymore. Let me just preface this by saying I'm happily married now, so I did make it out of this relationship with my sanity. This is going to be some furry neckbeard cringe, which I didn't realize at the time. The biggest participants in this was me, Little Red, because my fursona had red fur. And there was Lucy. He's a minor neckbeard. He was a white wolf furry. He went by Lucifer. And the neckbeard of the hour was a big bad wolf. He had a big black wolf fursona. And finally, Kadari. He turned out to be my future husband, but at the time, he was just my best friend who happened to be a guy. This happened about 3.5 years ago. I was well into anime and fantasy novels, and I was a furry and I loved everything nerdy. Just as a side note, furries aren't always sexual. It's just the love of dressing up as an anthropomorphic animal, or in costumes pretty much. It's like a form of cosplay. But some people do take it that far. Now, me being into these things made me prime neckbeard bait. I eventually got into a long-distance relationship with Big Bad Wolf. He didn't look like a neckbeard, so I was fooled at the start. But as you all know, it's not the appearance, it's the cringe in their hearts. I would Skype him almost every day, and he introduced me to his family. His room constantly looked like a disaster area. It had dishes and electronics everywhere. The only thing that was cleared off properly was his bed, but I didn't judge. All seemed well. Then he started telling me about his past lives. To put it bluntly, Big Bad Wolf, honest to God, thought that
I was an angel from heaven, and I fell from grace and I became a demon. I eventually got kicked out for having sex with Satan's wife, and I was sent to Earth as a dragon.
Then he thought he turned into a wolf in the next life. He thought that I too was a wolf. He eventually told me,
I was once a female wolf, and I was like spiritually pregnant with demon wolf babies, and you were like once my cub, and now you're gonna be my mate.
I thought he was joking, and I straight up laughed in his face over Skype. That is, until he started to pout about it and tell all of his friends. or as he called them, his cubs. He was upset that I didn't believe him, and that if I wanted him to, he would die, and that he would go back to his cage and never be with anyone ever again. I was naive, and I didn't want anyone to kill themselves for me, so I promised to him that I did believe him, and I begged him to stay. Ugh, that was a big mistake. I was flooded with messages from random strangers, and Lucy calling me mommy, asking me why I'm being mean to daddy. The only friend that I had was smart enough to tell me to run away from him was Kidari. It turns out that the big bad wolf was messaging Kidari, asking for sexual favors, because
What Little Red doesn't know won't hurt her.
I point blank told Big Bad Wolf that I expected a monogamous relationship, and he needed to stop telling people that I didn't have to know. Eventually he told me,
You are dangerous enough for me. Well, I love you anyway. I really wanted a gun sword-toting Amazon wolf warrior who can dote on me. I'm just so powerful, and I need a dangerous woman to hold me down.
he suddenly stopped talking to me very much, so I went to Kidari and I told him how upset I was. I grew a lot closer to Kidari at this time, but he was always respectful of my relationship. This kind of makes me vomit now. Big Bad Wolf informed me that he was so distant because he was working at Walmart. And also during this time, he chose that moment to show me his furry tail butt plug, and it was inserted. Within weeks, I discovered that the Big Bad Wolf was talking and flirting with random people that he was working with. During this time, Kidari was warning me that he was cheating on me, and that he wasn't treating me right. Lucy, he was hardcore trying to push me into having sex with him. He lived a little bit too close to me for comfort, and he kept adamantly demanding me to have sex with him. Kidari lived even closer, and he kept offering me to go over there and talk to him, to make him stop. I snapped at Lucy one time, and rather rudely informed him,
There's no way I want your balding, disrespectful anywhere near me, and if you don't learn some respect real fast, I will block you.
He responded with screenshots of dating Big Bad Wolf during our entire relationship, shortly after I started dating Big Bad Wolf. I was so furious, but that was not the final straw, which I regret now. I got sucked back into Big Bad Wolf apologizing.
It'll never happen again. I just want you to know that online roleplay doesn't mean anything to me. And yeah, I am bisexual.
Everything did go back to normal, or so I thought, until Kidari told me, and proved it with screenshots, that this jerk was telling everybody a bunch of crap about me, and that I was apparently not good enough for him, and I didn't treat him good. All the while spouting his werewolf nonsense about having sexual relationships with real foxes as a wolf. Kidari found out that his partner was cheating on him with the Big Bad Wolf, and when I confronted him, he had the balls to tell me that he couldn't trust me. So I finally ended things. Me and Kidari finally wound up together, and Kidari's partner and the Big Bad Wolf ended up with each other and are now together. I guess they deserve each other. Thankfully, I ended up marrying Kidari, and I couldn't be happier. So thank goodness I came out of this neckbeardy situation to actually being married to my best friend. Thank you guys very much for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Probably going to be doing another Neckbeard experience. I've got quite a few stories. A lot of them I pulled from Lost and Found. Some of them were stories I got from subscribers over a year ago, which I'm really sad that I haven't been able to do it because I lost it, and that was a big loss for me, but I found them, so goody, I get to do them again. Thank you guys very much for joining me. Can't wait to see you again, and just remember, have fun with your failures, or they'll have fun with you.